Hello friends, welcome to lecture number 35. In this lecture, we will study about challenges for tomorrow and dealing with the challenges in service quality management. So, to start with challenges for tomorrow. First challenge is sustainable development. Nowadays, when we talk about, everywhere we have been talking about sustainability. There are three dimensions of sustainability. First, the involvement of locals into the business. Second is ecological sustainability, and third is economical sustainability. So, including these aspects of different types of sustainability into a business model and still you can make your business model profitable is something which is difficult. Like if you talk about locals, if you want to include the locals may not be having the kind of service orientations, skills, languages which are required in tourism industry. So, if you want to include them and if you try to go ahead by being more inclusive in your approach, then in that condition you need to provide them training. Now, to what extent these trainings will make an impact in terms of their skill development, in terms of they become compatible to your business with that kind of a mindset, and then can you still maintain your profitability, and to what extent customers will be willing to pay a higher price because you have organized all these trainings and other things, so your cost has increased. So, by what extent your customers will be willing to pay a higher price because you have included some locals in your business. So, these all are very challenging tasks. Similar thing is there in case of ecological and economical also. So, that is how if you want to include the aspects of sustainability, then you have to do it very wisely, okay? And this is one of the challenge which businesses need to handle nowadays. Next is performance improvement. Now, in performance improvement, we need to understand here whether these have to be higher expectations or new changes. What kind of performance are we talking about? Are we talking about same customer having a better performance or some kind of change in the performance, or you have to come up with altogether a new idea in the products? So, this is also something which is challenging, Next is return on investment. Now, with trained, experienced, human resource which is available with your company, or you need to a high competition. So, you have to be very clear about this thing, that return on investment will come from which aspect. It will come by training your same staff, or it will come by hiring new staff which is better skilled or has a good idea about use of AI and other ICTs. So, that is how you need to identify to get your proper return on investment. Next is competitive positioning. Now, competitive positioning, we all know that companies want to be in a market which are competitively stable, lesser reactive, and absolutely no volatile, but this is not how the markets are. Market are highly reactive. We all know about that business war between Pizza Hut and Domino's, and we also know about what has happened between Coca-Cola and Pepsi when both of them entered into India. When Coca-Cola actually entered into India, Pepsi was already there at that time, last time when actually they entered. So, that is how this competitive positioning is also one such thing which requires a lot of resources in terms of coming up with lot of advertisement, counter advertisements and publications, and organizing PR activities, different kind of campaigns to attract the sale, to attract the dealers, to promote the dealer to sell your product only. So, these all things actually become highly competitive in that condition. Now, next is high caliber employee retention, a very challenging task. Okay. Now, 80% of the employee, we all know when they join the industry, 85% of them, they simply switch over to some other industry, because working with the tourism industry is an extremely challenging task. It is not everybody's cup of tea. Beside having that service orientation, you need to have that kind of attitude and a willingness to work hard. Only then you will be able to survive into the industry. Okay. So, industry inability to attract right people is also one of the problem, because of which industry is always not I would say missing in high caliber employee, but yes, there is a deficiency, acute deficiency of high caliber employee. Employee is not a problem in tourism industry, but high caliber employee, yes, it is a problem in tourism industry. Okay. Okay. Now entrants have absolutely new idea about working hours. When they enter into the industry, they think like it's going to be a normal 10 to 6 kind of a job. This is not how tourism industry work. If somebody is in Australia, he is ahead in time with respect to India. If somebody is in USA 12 hours back, and maybe Singapore 2.5 hours ahead, and in UK 5.5 hours back. So that's how your tourists are always there during different time zones, and whenever there is a problem with them or they want to have some kind of information or some kind of consultation, you as being a salesperson are the first contact point for them. So that's how it's little difficult to cope up with this kind of a work pressure. So this is also one of the reason why some of the employees, they switch to other industries. Okay. Now first few weeks are very critical when an entrant joins, because he has not having enough exposure, and yes, comparatively his salaries are also down. Okay. Now inadequate training and a lack of ongoing development is also other problem, which because of which the industry face high caliber employee retention, because most of the companies which are here working in this industry are under MSME, and they provide training only once in the form of orientation program. But after that, when we talk about non-stop training or an ongoing training through which a person also feel valued and better aware about the product and industry and market, that is something which is, I'm not saying completely missing, but to certain extent, yes, it is missing in the industry. Okay. Now like aviation and hospitality, tourism industry should also have a very strict eligibility criteria for entering into the industry. If anybody wants to enter into the aviation, they need to have certain kind of certificates in their hand. If somebody wants to enter into hospitality, similar is the case. But when it comes to tourism industry, anybody can enter into the field. This should not be the case. Tourism industry should also come up with certain norms for entering into this industry. So that way we will get a better equipped, learned and knowledgeable and skilled, and people who are willing to work with the kind of work culture which we have, the kind of timings pressure which we have. And this is what is the need of the hour, to retain and to attract the right kind of person to enter into the industry. Okay. Now next is business models. So when we talk about business models, an industry wide improvement and dissemination of information and yield management, all these kind of things we need to incorporate into the business model. Tourism industry generally works with with numbers and with numbers and with numbers. Numbers are not enough. Maybe if you talk about the profitability which a person is or a business is going to make when he is going to sell any 5-star property, 19 days 19 nights 20 days package to, let's say, the USA, will be different when a person sells a package to Thailand or to maybe any Nepal or any such country, So that's how it's not about just the number, it's about the yield management, who is being able to sell to do cross selling, who has been able to do upselling. So these all things business, they should be incorporated into business, and these kind of talent should be retained and motivated and cultivated also. So this is how a little bit change in business model is also needed, not only on the basis of numbers. Okay. Now branding and brand awareness coupled with operational consistency and perception of quality are few of the key issues which industry should take care about. Now there is an increasing trend towards the outsourcing too. So like if you talk about hotels who do not have any kitchen, they go for outsourcing of their F&B services, or we talk about accounts department, security department, IT services, all these are such thing wherein nowadays tourism business are outsourcing. So these are also couple of the things which are coming into the industry. Now the last point here is understanding your customers. Customers are not something which remain constant throughout the time. Customers keep on changing, their demands change, their purchasing power change, their choice of destination change, how do they want to purchase change. So these all things have to be kept in mind, have to be kept in mind while deciding any kind of business activity. So when we talk about what kind of different changes which are coming up in customer, number one is customization versus standardization. Some if we talk about a standardization, this is a very easy process for companies to do, even if they have an n number of outlets and sell the products, and it gives a better profitability and a repeat customer also. But when we talk about customization, customization actually gives better satisfaction and better profit per unit sale. So that's how whether to go for a standardized product or a customized product, that is something which companies need to understand from the perspective of their tourist. Now next is internal information or external information. Which information is more credible, whether the advertisement which has been given by the company, that is more credible or informative to the customer, or the information which is through any external source. Let's talk about social media. Okay, so is that more credible from the tourist perspective? Okay, because we are trying to understand our customer, not the company's perspective, from the tourist's perspective. How much are these things costing? Okay, so this is what a comparative analysis from the perspective of tourist or the customer is what companies need to do. Okay, now in previous information is more important or the sale counter information is more important. A tourist is coming with the previous information, he is relying with maybe advertisement, newspaper, magazines, his family members, somebody has gone outside, somebody has given that present to him. So that information is more precious, or the information which has been provided to that person when he is at the sales counter, because accordingly the company needs to invest. If company needs to invest more on sales counter, then trainings are required, hiring of better skilled staff is required, and if it is going to be previous information, then more advertising and more publicity material, more PR activities, better dealing with the all these social media and all those groups and other things. So this is what actually the companies need to understand, that what is that which is going to give them better return and how their customers are evolving with time, because customers are actually a combination of all these elements which I have told you in this last point till now. So customers are varied in their nature. So what kind of customer gave you what kind of feedback, what kind of profitability, that's what we need to understand. Now how do customers decide? Whether a customer decides because he wants to do that thing, or whether customer decides because his family member has said, or his peer group has, he might not be convinced to go to USA, but then his peer group has gone to the USA, and maybe his neighbor has gone to the USA. So that is putting up a kind of a psychological pressure on him. So how do customers decide where to go, when to go, for how many nights, what to do, how much to spend, with whom they want to go? There are a number of questions of how these decisions are being taken by the customer. These companies need to understand, because these things are changing with time. Okay. Now how to deal with customer groups? There are different kind of customers groups which are available offline, online. People become friendly with their own co-travelers during a tour, and then they remain in touch. Somebody may be in North India, another one may be in South India, but they become good friends and they keep on meeting, and then next time what happens, these family might even plan to go on a second trip together. So this is something which will come in customer decision making also, and this will something which will come in customer scope also, and this company's TMC should actually encourage this kind of a cohesiveness among these customer group, because in that way these customers group become a kind of point of sale for them, or maybe they work, they influence others decision also, because the kind of positive word of mouth which they create in the society, that is something which is very precious for the company. So companies should invest. So how to deal with these customer group? How to first of all identify them? How to be in touch with them in such a way wherein you can continuously satisfy them and not let them become a drifter from your company. So these all things company need to understand, because this is something which is very new, has come up into the market in last 10 to 15 years, and these things have been evolving also with time. Now dissatisfaction or compensation, when your actually tourist is dissatisfied, then how to deal with it? Should you deal with that problem and then rectify that problem and then tell the customer that from next group onwards this problem will not be happening with other customers, so that the person feel valued and satisfied, and or should you give him some kind of compensation that this is a token, next time when you go on a trip, then this kind of this much percentage of discount will be provided to you, or this much in booking amount, this much deduction will be there. So that's how companies need to understand. We need to understand, even if you come up with some kind of change in the product that requires money and expertise, or you go ahead with compensation, then how much compensation would be enough? Or would it not become then a trend in the market that every time some kind of a problem will come up, then every next customer will expect some kind of financial compensation, monetary compensation? So isn't this going to cost company a good amount. So, these all are such things wherein the company needs to understand its customers. Now, which satisfaction is more important? Employee satisfaction or customer satisfaction? Sometimes for making a customer important, employee feels belittled, and sometimes employee feels himself to be so egoistic, or maybe whatever you may say, rude in behavior, that the customer feels himself to be belittled. So, that is how the company needs to strike a balance between the customer and the employer in such a way wherein both of them feel valued, and customers also understand where the limit of being a customer ends. Okay, where they are crossing that line and becoming more of personal and offensive to the employer. And employee should also need to understand that if the customer is giving some kind of demand, that it may not be justified, unjustified, even if he thinks it is unjustified. From the perspective of customer, it may be completely justified. So, these are few of the points which I have given you, wherein the company needs to understand their customers. Okay. So, let us move further. Now, we will study about some more challenges which are going to come up in future. Now, designing and delivering services. How to design a service, how to ensure marketing efforts throughout the marketing chain. The company is coming up with a new product and might be having its own outlets, its area offices, its sales offices, its district offices, its franchise, its preferred sales agent, and general sales agent. I mean, a sales agent who is not at all any kind of agent, he is just selling and getting some kind of commission. Now, how to make this thing similar throughout its value chain, throughout this distribution and chain. This is something which is very difficult. So, designing and delivering a product throughout the value chain in such a way where the similar standard can be maintained as per the vision and mission of the company is something which is a big challenge and requires a lot of dissemination of information and training to its employees as well as the employees of franchise and other also. Okay. Now, benefits from service branding. If company is going to present itself into the market as a brand which delivers a good services, or a brand which is more about good products. I mean tour packages. Tour packages are such wherein little bit here and there in terms of delivery of service will be compensated, or it has to be more of service oriented, and even if average packages which are available in other companies are also available, it is absolutely fine, but then their services are so good that people want to come and purchase the product. So, that is what they need to understand. And then localization versus globalization, whether the product has to be done area wise, like in maybe Uttar Pradesh it will be different, in Jammu and Kashmir it will be different, in Punjab it will be different, or it is to be such that one such product is there and that product is going to be sold throughout the world. So, these are also couple of things which companies think about while designing and delivering their services. Now, assuring total quality service is a very challenging task. So, how to use tourist perceived quality measures to rectify quality gaps and gaps which are existing in a company also. Those quality gaps which are existing as per the perception of a tourist, ensuring that those have been implemented in the entire value chain, so that it is not about service quality management, but the total quality service assurance can be achieved by the company is a very challenging task. And this is going to increase in future, because we all know that customers and tourists have been upgrading and updating continuously. Their expectations have been not changing, increasing. So, assuring this total quality management in total quality services management in tourism is a challenging task. So, with this we are going further to our next topic, that is how to deal with these challenges which may come up in future. By clearly defining roles, who will do what, when, where, how, then will be reporting to whom. Okay. And then by providing necessary information, work relationships, and very important is the flow of work. Generally, when a new entrant enters into the industry, they are aware about what they are supposed to do, but then the flow of work is something which they are not very clear about. When they have provided information, then who is going to do the follow up? When they have created a sale, where that file will go, who will confirm services, who will confirm visa, which visa will be done first, which visa will come later on, whether ticket will be done first, or their hotel booking will be done done first, when the vouchers will be issued, and this is a step by step process, right? When the person enters into your company as a prospect, and then later on when he comes back, there are n number of steps. How those steps will be performed one by one is something which which have to be very clearly defined during the orientation program when a person joins a company, and this is what is called flow of work. Okay. Now, next is external variables, uncertainty, changing take system, then bilateral relationships between companies, between countries also. Okay. So, these external variables also cause a lot of uncertainty in the market. So, these have to be dealt with very clearly. Now, next is capacity and personal building program. Capacity building program for all the employees, wherein they get continuous training, different kind of trainings, not just product, not just marketing, but of software, but of language, but of skill development, but of even stress management also. Okay, even personality development also, and then personal building programs. It's not just about providing them training and not thinking about their career path. Their career growth is also very important. If these all things are there, where a person feels valued, is on a path of continuous development, and as well as at the same time is being provided an opportunity from the side of company for this continuous development, only then this human resource actually plans to stick with your company. Otherwise, he simply shifts to some other company. Okay. Now, mentors should be allotted. It is very important. These employees who are there with the company, they should be provided some kind of company mentor. These mentors should counsel these lower employees. I'm not, by lower end, I'm not meaning that those who have just entered junior executive or something like that. No, even if let's say a vice president is a mentor to a general manager, so that is also for vice president he is lower rank, general manager is a lower rank. So, that way, so they should mentor them throughout, they should counsel them throughout, so that this bond within the company can be developed through not just formal groups, but through informal groups also. Okay. Now, next is encouraging efforts of employees by both formal and informal ways. By formal ways, maybe by providing them some kind of incentives, promotion, prizes, coupon, monetary prizes, and in informal, maybe a small gathering, a small tea party wherein somebody has done a good sale, or somebody has done rectified some kind of problem, or developed a new contact by signing some MOU. So, there is a small informal party, maybe in the office itself or somewhere near a cafe, and that in that they will just by giving them a bouquet and praising that person. So, that is an informal way of praising that person's good efforts. Okay. Now, managers should learn from own job as well as discuss with seniors. They should not just think about learning from their own experiences. Experiences of course very important, but then they need to understand that their seniors are also there are better experience than them. So, they should even if they are performing very well, they should keep on discussing from there. Like I told you about mentors, so mentors are going to connect to them, but at the same time they should also try to do efforts from their own side, go and contact to these seniors to find out what are the problems, or if they have done this thing, how in the future they can improve further. Okay. And next is owner or the management should be clear about when they need to intervene in day-to-day tasks and should not make it a practice. So, sometimes what happens if you go to any MSME kind of company or a small travel agency, you will find every 2 hours the owner of the company is entering into that premises where some kind of sale or discussion between the customer and sales counter person is going on, and then he intervenes and then he interferes into that. That is not a good practice. Sometimes it is fine, only if it is required. Otherwise, you have hired that person to do the task, let him do the task. If he has been doing it, absolutely fine. If he has not done it properly, then in that condition, fine, give him some kind of a training, but this intervention is needed only when it is required, and this roaming around is fine, but not intervention. Okay, and that is what this point is about. Now, an incumbent should be trained about cross cultural differences, very important. Most of the time the tourist is from some other place, the sale is taking place at some other place, and the tour is going to some other places where they are staying in different kind of hotels and traveling with the airline of some different country. So, so this cross cultural difference, I mean, when we talk about globalization, I think our industry is one such industry which has been global since before even globalization or liberalization. Okay. So, this cross cultural differences are very important, and these should be understood and these should be informed to the salesperson and as well as tourist in advance, so that any kind of cultural shock or this kind of a disaster is not going to happen where they meant something else and finally something else has happened actually. So, this incumbent should be trained about the cross cultural differences. Now, if franchise system, then its employee must be trained. These employees will be employee of the new franchisee, but we have to understand here this thing that finally they are selling the product of the company only. So, in that condition, though they are not the employee of the company, but they are providing profit to the company and selling the product of the company. So, to maintain the standardization in the entire value chain, it is very important then that all these employees, and if not all these employees, at least 1 or 2 employees from all these franchise should be trained, and then they should be encouraged that after going back they will provide training on their part to the other employees of these franchise. Now, should know more than one language, and let me tell you, generally we consider English to be a foreign language, but when we talk about tourism industry, we do not consider English to be a foreign language. This is Hindi, English, Punjabi, Bengali, Kannada, Tamil, all these languages are considered to be medium of communication. Okay. So, when I am talking about more than one, I am not considering these local languages, I am not considering Hindi, I am not considering English, I am talking a language which is beyond it, because when you talk about outbound, your tourist will be going abroad. Since your tourist will be going abroad, so your supplier is from outside. So, you need to understand his language, his way of talking, this cultural difference. And if in such case that you are working with inbound, then your tourist is coming to India, then tourist is coming from an origin place where maybe this English Hindi is not a normal way of talking, not a medium of communication. So, we need to understand here that it is better if you, as being an employee or aspiring to work with the industry, understand more than one language. Okay. And then developing the future leaders. I mean, it is not about identifying and encouraging and motivating these people by informal and formal gatherings, but also inculcate, provide them leadership training, so that in future these employee who are good employee, you can retain them, and then you can these people can be future leaders in your company. Okay. Lead any office, lead a team of a big area. Okay. Then develop competencies in their managers. The company should think about developing competencies in their managers. Managers might be having a very diverse background, but if somebody is, let's say, in operations, he might be having a very good idea of operations, or maybe of services, very good idea about services, but what about sales? But when this person has reached at a position where he has to lead a team which includes couple of people from sales also, then this kind of a competency development is required over here. So, that is what this point is talking about, that they might be having their core from whichever department they have started working with, but when they are going to head a team which includes people from other departments also, then this kind of competency development is needed in the managers also. Now, maintain a performance based work culture. It is not about that you have to reach at time, you have to leave at 6, if you go earlier this money will be deducted, or you were late yesterday also, today also. No, it is more about performance, whether it is in numbers or it is in profit, whatever way, whatever job a person is performing, or more of contact, so that services which cannot be confirmed can be confirmed through that person. So, all these things, it has to be a performance based culture and not some typical rigid structure. Okay. So, with this I am ending this lecture here. At the end of it, I have provided you with a list of 5 books. You can refer to any of the books or any other book of your choice. Thank you.